conference will now be recorded.
Don't let that intimidate you. Please.
First holiday as a Jewish wife.
Uh-huh.
So it was very special. We hosted a lot, which was nice.
You what? I'm sorry?
We hosted
nice.
different nights, different groups of people. So nice to fill our house with joy, and some of our friends are Jewish, some of them are not. So it was nice to also pass along the knowledge and explain what we've been learning. And yeah, it was really great.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Anyone else?
I'll add something and say that Melissa.
Great. Who's talking?
Menashe Nash.
Nash. Good.
Melissa did a fabulous job hosting. We had a beautiful, from the beginning, Rosh Hashanah, we had a great night. Sukkot we hosted in the sukkah. We had a mix, some members of the community, family, and I would have to say a real, what do you say, Kiddush Hashem in the translation, for everybody to understand?
A sanctification of God's name, an elevation, a bringing honor to the good Lord. That's
so. Essentially, everybody left with a beautiful, profound point of view of Sukkot, and it was really nice that they all totally embraced the customs and what we do, and really kind of were in it. They weren't just there as guests; they actually really loved we talked about the Lulav Etrog, we talked about why we eat in the sukkah and the foods and whatnot. So it was really beautiful. So, and Melissa did a fabulous job hosting and making it happen. So it was really nice holiday season.
Okay. Good job there. Kudos there, Melissa. Nice. Good. Anyone else? Yes.
I just went to events that people invited me to, including your Sukkot.
Okay.
Sukkot here, wherever I was invited to, I attended. It was really nice.
Beautiful.
This is my first year attending every event.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay.
It was fun. Well, I mean,
you had a little bit of a.
Yeah, I had an accident. I busted my face open on after Cold Nature. That was fun. But no, on Sukkot, I mean, we went to people's houses, which was beautiful, and I love how everybody's house is different. Everybody does things different. It's kind of like when you go to different houses for Shabbat. It's fun to see their family traditions and things. But something that I thought was really fun was one day during the Kol HaMoed. We didn't build a sukkah this year. Last year we tried to build one, so we were trying to do our best to eat in a sukkah.
Okay.
So.
Right. Though women are not obligated, but it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. And so I made dinner and we packed it up and brought it over here and we ate the sukkah one night.
Beautiful.
And it was,
that's why it's here.
The night before, who is it? Oh my gosh. Mark Alman had given us something to read. And so we brought it with us, and it was just a time to just read this thing about the holidays, and just, I don't know, it was fun to just, even though it was just the two of us, to just break bread and, have that time. So it was good. I appreciated the sukkah being available.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Good. Good. Anyone else care to share, or we're good? Okay.
This is Ryan with Natalie.
I'm sorry?
This is we built our first sukkah ever.
Oh, nice, Ryan.
And beautiful. I found out that sefach translates as splinters.
It can.
Yeah.
Sefach is what we put on the top. It can. Yeah. What did you use? What did you use for your schach, Ryan?
Somebody loaned us a kit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So bamboo mats.
Yeah, it was. I guess it was a thing, but then I found some gloves and.
Those are often helpful. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
But
holidays for us were really, really nice. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur were beautiful over here. I thought the davening and the choir and the chazan, everything was really nice. Then Sukkot, gosh, a lot's happened since then. So the first days of Sukkot We had all of our kids, my married son and family from Florida, Shmuel, was not able to make it. And my son in Israel, Shrag, was not able to make it. But my oldest son and his wife, and Aaron, and Shua, and Devorah and Eliezer, and Miriam, his local. So we had 5 out of the 7 joining us for the first days. And that was great. And then everyone went back to their respective places. So Simchas Torah, Shmini Atzeres was a little more low key, but Simchas Torah is anything but low key over here. So a lot of dancing and the barbecue, everything was really, really nice. And then we had a real treat. I actually wrote about it. It's going to be in tomorrow's newsletter. That my son Aaron, single, living in Brooklyn, see, he had sent us. I told you that this morning. Sorry. So he had. That's the problem, going to 2 classes in one day. I need some new material. Yeah. But he sent us an invitation. He's turning 38, still single, and he was having he was going to have a birthday celebration. But this birthday celebration was going to be that he was going to be the chazan at one of the shuls in there in Brooklyn and give the Dvar Torah. The rabbi there is a really good guy, great guy, and a friend of his from their teenage years, right? And then they're going to have a whole meal in the shul Friday night. That would be his birthday party. So he invited all of his friends to come. Natalie, we saw that Natalie said, we've got to go. And I said, I think it's going to be a little bit steep. And she said, we got to go. So we went, but we didn't tell anybody. None of our other kids. We didn't tell because we were afraid that it would just slip out. So last Thursday night, we snuck out of the house, or so we thought. We'll soon see. We snuck out of our house and went to the LAX and got a red eye and flew to New York. And on Friday, we called all the kids, as we always do, giving them Shabbos brachas, and didn't let on. My son in Israel, we called him, and Shabbos was going to start in about 15 minutes, and he said, I just got off the phone with Aaron. So okay, this is safe. So he said, actually, Shrag, we're in New York to surprise Aaron. He goes, oh, it's crazy. So that was great. That was great. And only afterwards, so then we turned off our phones, of course. This is good to know. How do you manage hotels over Shabbos? In terms of elevators, in terms of rooms, getting in and out of rooms. So in terms of elevators, when we checked in, we said we're Sabbath observant, and in New York, people kind of have someone understand that. I said, so we'll need access to the stairwells, right? We're on the 4th floor, so it's not a big deal. So on the way down, they said the way down it won't be an issue, but kind of you have to go all the way down. You don't go out in the lobby. You have to go all the way out into the street, which is not a problem for us as long as alarms don't go off when you open those doors. They said on the way in, though, you'll need to let us know, and someone will need to walk you to get through the restaurant, whatever it was, to get to the stairwell. So that's usually pretty easily manageable. An alternative is to just hop in with someone else who's going up. Right? They might get a little nervous. What floor are you going to? Your floor. Right? Wherever you're going is where I'm going. It can sound a little bit creepy, right? But you just kind of follow them and you get off, and that'll get you a little closer to your floor, maybe 1 or 2 up or down. But that worked out well. The room. How do you get in and out of the room? Right? So you could ask them to, could you bring up, and let me in. I don't know. You don't want to bother people, and B, having them do malacha for you is also not optimal. So we have perfected the senior Shabbat hotel method. Okay, and that is we have it in my carry-on. I have it already. I have it like an index card that has. I'm sorry.
Like a magnet?
That's more sophisticated. That's a good idea. But we have an index card that's with some duct tape around it. We always bring duct tape. And basically, what we do is we hang "Do Not Disturb" on the door, and then we slip that where the door would catch, and we take that and we kind of tape it over there, and that way the door closes all the way, but it doesn't latch. So it could just be pushed open. Okay? With do not disturb on the door, no one else is coming in. And as an added safeguard, all these rooms have a safe in them. So before Shabbos, our phones, tablets, anything of a wallet, anything of value goes into there. And the rest, if someone breaks in and they can take my t-shirt, all right, I'll get another t-shirt. It is not the biggest deal, but anything of value goes in there. So our phones were already locked away. So unbeknownst to us, our daughter who lives here calls us and it goes right to voicemail. That's strange because in California time, it's another 3 hours until Shabbos, right? 4 hours till Shabbos. She stops by the house and it does not look like a senior house on Friday, Erev Shabbos. So she puts out on the siblings WhatsApp, Baruch Hashem, my son Aaron was not on at the time. Anybody know where mom and dad are? Other kids start chiming in. Yeah, they called us. We missed the call. We called them back and went right to voicemail. Right? So they can't figure out where's mom and dad. So then she goes onto our Ring camera and she says, they left last night with their suitcases. Like no forwarding address. That's it. Parents are gone. They're out of here. Right? So no one knows what's going on. And then afterwards, Shrag chimed in, and from Israel afterwards, and then Aaron chimed in, and they realized that we were there. So I said to them, if we ever go anywhere without a forwarding address, it's not to go away from you guys. It's to go to you guys. You should know that. Yeah. And so then we get to the shul. We got there about an hour. It was called for 7 o'clock, but candlelighting was 6 o'clock. So we got there at 6 o'clock, and the rabbi gave us the code. I was in touch with him. So now he lit candles. I daven mincha. We're just sitting in the back talking, and then there's a knock on the door, and we open the door, and it's some of his friends. They start asking us questions. So I said, "We're not really from here. We're just here for this weekend." Go, wait, you're Aaron's parents, aren't you? Right? And then we're sitting in the back at the shul. We're sitting, let's say, over here. So he walks in, he can't see us. We're talking to his friends. He sees his friends, gives them a hug, sees us, and the look on his face was just priceless. Just like this, like the brain going into high gear, trying to process, like, what is this? We spoke to him in like 2 hours before, as if we were in California. How's the weather in New York? How you doing? Will it be good weather for your thing tonight? Yeah. Oh, we wish we could be there. Which friends are coming? And then he was just like processing. And then it was great. He starts to tear up, and we had a beautiful Shabbos there with him, watching him and his friends, which was great. Then he walked us back to the hotel. We spoke for a long time, and then sure the next morning, and then he walked us back and hung out at the hotel. It was great. And an interesting plus is that we first saw him when it was Shabbos, and then he left the hotel to go where he needed to go while it was still Shabbos. So there are no pictures. And in a certain way, it's good. When there are no pictures, it forces you to lock it in over there. Like I don't know. I'm older than you guys. I don't know if you have this, but I still remember my phone number from growing up, and my best friend's phone numbers from growing up. Right? But once you have cell phones, I even know some of my own kids' numbers. Right? I never dialed a number. I just hit their name, and So when you don't have it stored electronically, it pushes you to take it in and make it a part of yourself. Yeah. So this was a fantastic Shabbos. It was like one of the best Shabbos of my life. It was just great.
That's a very sweet story.
Yeah. It was great. It was great, especially when we heard that it was almost blown out of the water. Like we saw you, mom and dad left at their suitcases at 9 o'clock Thursday night. Where'd they go? Good times. Okay, with that, let's get back to our regular programming to Shabbos. But I was thinking, did we do this last time, Trishi? After you had your whole thing, did we go over a little bit of muktzah? Because that was some questions that they had asked you. Did we go over that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we went over some basic muktzah. Good. Okay, so let's carry on over here with our regular programming. Anybody know where we are? It's been a long time. Tying a knot, thread, sewing. Oh, might be. We might be. I think we're about to start. Baking? Okay, let's go over there. Good. 159 in our book over here. Just some scheduling. So next week will be the 28th of October. So then again, we're going to learn, we'll get together same time, about 6:20, 6:25, we'll get together same time. The week after, that is already daylight savings. So at that point, in general, we're going to move to 5:45. Does that work for people? Or what do we say? No, 10 to 7, we said. Right, 10 to 7. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, Marv is 6:30. However, that
Yeah.
first time, November 4th, we're having one of the families from Israel whose son, there's a notice outside, you take a look at it, whose son was killed in one of the tank battles on the first day of October 7th. So then come to speak here at 7 o'clock. So there we'll need to, I can do it at 5:45 if that works with people. If it does, we do. If not, then we'll just have to miss that week. But I urge people to come here to hear the family speak. But after that, we'll be consistently at 6:50 after the 6:30 mark. Okay? All right. So just maybe just chime in on the WhatsApp if November 4th will work at 5:45 or not, and we'll go from there. Okay. So page 159. So as we mentioned, we know there are 39 malachot. How do we define malacha? Good. Activities that were done in the building of the Mishkan. And basically those are creative activities or acts of creation that we do. And that is why on Shabbos, it's not a day of rest. God did not rest. I know it sounds sacrilegious, doesn't it? God did not rest. Why did God not rest? He doesn't need to rest. He doesn't get tired. God does not rest. But on Saturday, on Shabbat, God stopped molding the world to fit changing needs, right? Each day of creation, God is molding and changing the world. He stopped molding, changing the world. He stopped those acts of creation. Therefore, come Shabbat, we do our beliefs in God as a creator. We don't just believe on a hilltop. We do our beliefs. How do we do our beliefs? Comes Friday night, Shabbat, we stop molding this world to fit our needs. We enjoy the world as it is. We stop doing creative activities. And the 39 that we list, the 39 is 11, that is the order of bread, and that began with plowing and then all the steps until we get to number 11, which is baking or cooking. The malach of baking involves changing food, drinks, or other materials by means of heat. Okay? So people ask, can you use the water cooler on Shabbos? What's the answer? Can you use the water cooler on Shabbos? Well, in terms of cooking, it's not a problem because it's not heating, it is cooling. So that's not an issue. The only issue that might be involved is if when I turn on the cold water, that's going to automatically activate the condenser, is that what it's called? Right? To start cooling the water, that's going to be a problem. But that's not how it works. It doesn't automatically happen. Same thing as opening a refrigerator. Are we allowed to open a refrigerator on Shabbos? Yes. Why? Well, assuming, of course, that the lights are not going on, right? And for that, when traveling, right? So in traveling, so it used to be very simple. You just would, loosen up the bulb. Now, none of these refrigerators have bulbs anymore. So if you go into a hotel, they have a little mini fridge there. There's no light in there. You go into an Airbnb, you've got some problems. So the other thing that we carry in our carry-on, in addition to our uh, index card for the hotel doors, are magnets. Magnets and tape. Okay. The older refrigerators, so the light is activated by a switch. When the door opens, a switch comes out and then the light goes on. When the door closes, the switch gets pushed and the light goes off. So that's easy. You just put some tape over that. And that way it thinks the door is closed all the time. So that way the door is not activated. But most newer fridges don't have that. They are, the way it works is there's a magnet at one of the points where the door closes. And when it gets closed, it gets magnetized, the light goes off. When you open it up, it gets demagnetized and the light goes on. So the Jewish Shomer Shabbat hack for that is you have some magnets and you find the place where you put the magnet right over there, right above there, and it's now magnetized. So now it thinks the door is closed, so the lights don't go on. Okay, so assuming the lights are not going to go on, so that you don't have that problem. You might have the problem. So there are some people who say you can only open the door when you hear the condenser is going, and that way you're not going to turn on the condenser. And others say, right? But normative halacha is you can open your refrigerators with reckless abandon. You don't have to worry about that because it's not going to open the door, turn on the condenser, right? It might happen, might not happen. It's not a problem. Where it is a problem, let's say, is by an oven, okay? And this Bishul number 11, they just have a little bit. We'll have a lot more on page 189, a lot more details on it, right? Cooking, that is probably the most prevalent issue that comes up on Shabbos. How do we prepare our food? How do we eat our food? How do we warm the food? All these things on Shabbos, that is the biggie. And with that, there are two things we need to check. Number one, is this cooking? If it constitutes cooking, full stop. Can't go any further. If it doesn't constitute cooking, meaning it's already cooked and it's a solid, whatever, we'll get to all these things. So then the next question is, does it appear like I'm cooking? Cooking, Torah prohibition. Mechse, it appears kabisha like cooking. That is a rabbinic prohibition. So if it's not cooking and it doesn't look like cooking, then we're okay. For example, okay, so now, right, heating things up on Shabbos on a plata. Plata is the term we use for an electric hot plate. So there are different opinions. The way what I follow, what the shul follows, is that you don't cook on a hot plate, you warm up on a hot plate. Therefore, it doesn't appear to be like cooking. That's why for our kiddush over here, we could take things out of the refrigerator as long as it's solid, not liquids. Okay? Like rice or chicken. We'll come to how we deal with chicken soon, right? You can take that out and put it onto the hot plate. It's not cooking because it's already cooked. And by solids, there's no cooking after cooking. By liquids, there is. If I have a cooked soup and in my refrigerator, I can't take that out and put it onto a hot plate because that will cook. Even though it's cooked already, reheating liquids is considered now like cooking. Reheating solids is not. So we could take those out and put it onto the hot plate. It'll warm up. It's not cooking because it's solid and it's cooked already. It doesn't look like cooking because you don't cook on a hot plate. However, an oven, you do cook in. Okay? And therefore, even if, let's say I turn my oven, well, let's say I've got an oven on Shabbos mode. Okay? Shabbos mode will mean that when I open the door, the fire doesn't go on immediately. and the light sewing doesn't go on, even so, I cannot put my food into there to warm up. Why not? It appears like cooking. Oven is where we do cooking. I could put it onto a blech, right? The blech is the metal covering that goes on the stove top, but I can't put it right over the fire because that looks like cooking. I need to put it around the perimeter. I need to put it on top of another pot. Okay. So whereas the refrigerator, opening the refrigerator does not automatically turn the condenser on, so that's okay. Opening an oven. Now, so let's say my food is in the oven from before Shabbos. Okay, I can take it out. That doesn't look like cooking. But the problem is when I open the door, what's going to happen immediately? The fire goes on. When you open an oven, when you open the oven door, immediately the fire goes on. Okay, let's say your house is at 70, right? A refrigerator is about what temperature? Say 35. There's a 35-degree discrepancy between the outside temperature and the refrigerator temperature. Therefore, when you open the refrigerator, it doesn't automatically send it into shock that the condenser needs to go on, right? An oven is running at 350, and the house temperature is 70. There's a 280-degree discrepancy between the oven and the outside. As soon as you open that door, cold air rushes in, the oven senses it, and it fights to maintain its temperature. So what happens? Automatically, the fires go on, okay? So we can't leave food in an oven to take it out on Shabbos if the oven is on. What you can do, and what we often do, is set the oven to go off, either turn the oven off before Shabbos begins, or set the oven, if it has a timer, to go off, right? Well before the meal, right? And that way the oven is off. Opening it is not going to trigger any fires, and taking the food out is not a problem because out does not look like cooking. In will look like cooking. You can't put it back in, but to take it out, that won't be a problem. Okay, so when it comes to the water cooler, you could take cold water out of there, not a problem at all. You can't take hot water out of there. Why not?
It'll heat up.
What happens when you take hot water out of there?
Replace it with cold water.
Replace it with cold water. And that gets cooked up. The same thing with using hot water in your houses, right? You take out hot water, cold water goes in, you're cooking. So you can't use the hot water from a faucet, right, on Shabbos, okay? In the East Coast, where when you're using just the cold water to wash your hands, it is like frigid, right? So what we used to do is we take some hot water from the hot water urn, which does not get replenished, it's a set amount, and just, right, not enough to cook the water there, but just to take out some of the bite. That's not going to be an issue. Okay, so the malacha of baking involves changing food, drinks, or other materials by means of heat. Forbidden activities include baking, cooking, roasting, grilling, frying, melting solid materials like wax or metals, drying wood in an oven. And like we said, the laws of cooking will go into detail later on. That concludes the first Seder, the first order of events, which is called again the order of bread, Sidurei de Pat, and 11 of the 39 were taken care of. Now we begin with another 13, which is Sidura, the order of sewing. One second. Yeah, the order of sewing, right? And that all begins with shearing. Okay, that's all going to begin with shearing the sheep. Okay, so I know this is going to really interfere with your normal Shabbos activities, but no shearing of any sheep on Shabbos. Okay, however, there are some applications which will be a little bit more relevant to our world, right? So let's see, 12, page 160. Malach of shearing involves removing any natural growth from the body of a person or an animal. Oh, so so if you have something on your nail, then you want to, that's going to be a problem, right? Or sometimes you get that thing on your lip, a little annoying. You want to just go, finish with it, right? That's going to be a problem. All these things, right, that become issues. Forbidden activities include shearing or plucking wool, feathers or hairs, cutting fingernails, toenails, tearing off bits of skin around the nails, removing hairs or calluses from the body, either cutting them off or through electrical or chemical means, plucking hairs off a fur coat. Interesting. 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 You know, we had, going back to bread, we had the issue of harvesting, right? But if you buy some grapes in the store and, you know, take it off of the cluster, that's not going to be a problem because it's already detached from the ground, right? So one might have thought that if it's already off of the animal, the fur coat is already off of the animal, that plucking a hair from that would not be an issue, but it is. Okay. Now, another issue which is pretty relevant is combing one's hair on Shabbos, as this may tear out hairs. To use a brush or a thin, a soft brush, right? That is not an issue. But a comb, if there are any knots, it ends up pulling out hair. Okay? Yeah.
So you can use a soft brush, but you can't use a comb. But let's say just a regular brush can absolutely pull out hair. So if you just suggest we like run our fingers through it.
A regular brush, what, I'm sorry?
Like a regular brush.
Yeah, which has like those plastic, yeah.
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 Is that, would that be considered a comb for this purpose?
Yeah. So if that's going to, you see, a comb is a particular problem because comb has all the teeth very close to one another. So therefore, you know, a knot is not going to make its way around it. It's going to, right? But yeah, if brushing your hair with a regular brush is going to possibly pull out hair, right? So then one shouldn't do that. And yeah, that's why with me I just go like this.
So we can just like
Not an
run
issue.
fingers through our hair and we'll be good to go. It's not-
Correct. Yeah. Right.
I can't even do that. It pulls my hair.
Your hands.
Same here. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Hasn't been a while. Hasn't been a problem for me for a long time. So, okay. Number 13, page 161, bleaching or laundering. Okay. The malacha bleaching involves any action which cleans or improves the appearance of clothes or fabrics. Forbidden activities include soaking fabrics or clothes in water or other fluids, scrubbing clothes, shaking fluids off garments, wringing out garments, ironing, cleaning stains, shaping, brushing off dust from clothes or hats, whose appearance one is particular about, refolding a talus or clothes onto their original folds, hanging up wet laundry, squeezing the water from one's wet hair. Okay? So typically, right, we won't be showering or bathing on Shabbos. If a woman is going to the mikvah on Shabbos, then she's just careful not to wring out, or just to, towel, tap dry her hair, and the hair stays a little bit wet. Now, this is interesting. Laundering. If a person has non-Jewish help on Shabbos, okay, what things can they do and what things can't they do? And here there's a very, very interesting line that's drawn. Anything that you can do, they can do it even in a way that you can't do it. What you can do, they can do, even in a way that you can't do it. For example, is washing dishes on Shabbos permitted? It's a niyah, right? The answer is washing dishes is permitted, but there are a number of things that need to be, it needs to be done in a certain way that one is not breaking Shabbos. What are the issues with washing dishes on Shabbos? Okay, number one, right, is a sponge. We can't do it. It will squeeze out the water, right? They do sell Shabbos sponges. Okay, a sponge, the Shabbos sponge is made in a way that it doesn't actually absorb, right? Sometimes you can buy the Shabbos sponges look like just a ball of plastic. They use like a scrubby, or some actually look like a real sponge, but inside it doesn't have that same sponge inside. Okay, so we can wash dishes, right? We'll need to use a Shabbos sponge. Another issue with washing dishes on Shabbos. Okay, bar of soap will be a problem. But what can we do? We can use a liquid soap, right? We mentioned before, hot water, right? So can we wash dishes on Shabbos? Yes, with a number of asterisks, right? Liquid soap, Shabbos sponge, cold water. Okay, but yes, we can wash dishes on Shabbos. Therefore, if one has non-Jewish help, right? So then they can wash the dishes on Shabbos, and they can use hot water, and they can use a regular sponge. They can use whatever soap they want, because all they're doing, that's making it easier for them. They are your agent to wash the dishes, and that is attributed back to you. But how they're doing it is just facilitating it, making it more effective and easier for them. And therefore, that's not an issue. Laundry cannot be done on Shabbos. Why? Because we can't do laundry on Shabbos. It's not that we can do it, but you have to do it this way or that way, this way. No, we can't do it at all. Now, the way that this comes up fairly often, right, is you spill some wine or grape juice on your white shirt, right? Us men, that happens very often. Okay, you spill some wine or grape juice on your white shirt. So what's your first inclination? Go into the bathroom, go to the sink, and get some water and just, right, so it won't stain. That is bona fide washing, kavisa. That is laundering. That's exactly what you're doing, is Torah level laundering, right? So that we can't do on Shabbos. That comes up often. Another thing mentioned over here is refolding a tallis or clothes onto their original folds. Okay? So that is, by doing that, you are maintaining the garment, right? You know, pants or skirt that you do or dress on a certain crease that helps to maintain it, right? So that's what you might see on Shabbos. Many men don't fold their tallis on Shabbos. You can fold the tallis on Shabbos, but you just can't do it on the original. You have to do it a little off center at each juncture, right? And also, if you're hanging up clothing on a Friday night, right? So then you wouldn't be meticulous about getting onto the crease and hanging it up just like that. You just put it over something, right? You know, most people have a clothes receptacle in their room, right? It's either an exercise machine, right? A treadmill, a bicycle, or a big monitor, right? You know, those are the clothes receptacles. So you just kind of put it over one of those, and then after Shabbos is when you could get it back onto the proper thing. Hanging up wet laundry, that's it. What's the issue over there? Hanging up wet laundry. So I think that.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, I mean, what I would think is because you would rinse it out, like you'd squeeze it and rinse the.
Okay. All right. Possibly.
And if it's outdoors, it could be over the grass. That could be an issue.
Okay. So you might be watering the grass. You might come to squeeze it out, or it might look. And these are all, as you're saying, Nash. These are all rabbinic concerns, right? Lest it will, right? Or
Right.
there's also something called Maris Ayin, Marit
Oh, nice.
Ayin.
Right.
What is Marit Ayin, Paz?
Is that the
Rich, Marit
teacher doing
Ayin.
something?
I'm sorry, Nash, yeah?
It appears like
Good.
you're doing something wrong, even though you may not be.
It appears to the eye, meaning
Right.
you don't want to do something that will appear as if, right? If I'm hanging up wet clothing, then what's the assumption? I must have done laundry. Why else do I have wet clothing to hang up? So Marit Ayin is not to do things that makes it appear that you've done something wrong. Right? So some people jump and they say, well, we're supposed to be judging people favorably. So why would anyone think that I did something wrong? They should judge me favorably. So we shouldn't have all these laws that's based on someone judging me disfavorably. But actually, that's not the case. The issue is they're judging me favorably. And they're saying, well, if I saw Paz Abergel doing that, then it must be permitted. Right? So they're going to say, oh, I saw someone like a Paz, right, hanging up some wet laundry. I didn't know about it. Now I know you're allowed to do laundry. Right? So it's not that they're judging you disfavorably. They're going to judge you favorably. And people, because of what I've done, people will be doing things that are wrong, thinking that it's allowed. Right? And this Maris Ayin spills over into other into different situations. When I was growing up, I grew up in Forest Hills in New York, and we had to cross Queens Boulevard, right, which is like 12 lanes, right, in order to get from one side to the other side, right. But there was a subway station right there, right, with an entrance on this side and an entrance on that side. So instead of having to brave 12, wait for the light, and then get stuck in the middle, right? Simple. Go down to the train station. Don't go through the turnstiles. Don't go to the trains. Just continue walking along and come out the other side. No, you shouldn't do that, because you shouldn't, right? You don't want people seeing, Jews with yarmulkes walking out of the subway on Shabbos, right? Not knowing that we just ducked in over there, right? Could very well be, right? That one of the people who will see me doing that, right, is a boss. And his Jewish worker said he can't come to work on Saturday. Why not? I can't ride the subway. Well, I just saw a bunch of yarmulkes keep us coming out of the subway. So now, it comes up. What's interesting, this comes up, Israelis keep one day of Yom Tov, right? Right? It was Shmini Atzeres Simchas Torah is one day. We have 2 days, right? So we have 2 days when they come to the States. So if they're true Israelis, if they're living in Israel, so then they'll only keep one day in the States also, right? But they shouldn't do things overtly, right, showing that they're keeping one day because of this issue of the Maris Ayin, right? It becomes an issue that they want to fly back to Israel on the second day, But this Maris Ayin is not so much that people are going to judge you disfavorably, but on the contrary, they'll judge you favorably and say, oh, I guess I'm allowed to do that.
Rabbi, I have a question
Yes,
on the,
Lily.
soaking fabrics or clothes. Does that apply to children? Because sometimes here on Shabbos, the kids are outside and joking with water.
Just 1 second. That a hint? So should we discourage them from playing with water?
No.
I think most parents
does that
do,
apply?
regardless of the Shabbos issue.
Sometimes their clothes is all, it's soaked, so I'm reading it now, I'm like, oh, should we not let them play with it?
If their clothing is soaked, then what do you do? What happens?
Well, it was Lisa's kid, so I didn't have to deal with it, but if it was Aaron, I would have put it in a bag and then take it home and then after Shabbos wash it.
Yeah, so that's okay. That's okay. You wouldn't want to wring it out. You
Yeah.
wouldn't want to, if it got dirty, you wouldn't want to go to the sink, Yeah.
And then also.
Let's let kids be kids and have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, for the non-Jewish help, if you have non-Jewish help at home during Shabbos, can you ask them to do things that we're not allowed to do?
So that's what I'm saying. Things that you're allowed to do, you can have them do it, even though they'll do it in a way that you're not allowed to do it, right? But things that you're not allowed to do, like laundry, so you can't have them doing
What
the
about
laundry.
like turning lights on? Like if you were like, oh, I really wish that this light was on.
Okay.
Because I've
Yeah.
also been in situations around, like say like just situations where like it's been said, like I've been in that situation where I'm like, oh wait, am I supposed to like turn the light on?
Right.
Right.
So okay, so there is a widely held misconception that having a non-Jew, having a Shabbos guy, it's called, right? There is a widely held misconception that to have a non-Jew do anything for you is okay, as long as you hint and don't say it directly. Okay? That's half the story. Okay? So one issue is if I tell someone to do something, then they're doing it on my behalf. It's like they're my agent, and it's like I'm doing it. So for that aspect, so hinting, saying, gee, it's really bright in here, and we're trying to go to sleep, right? So then someone will turn off the light, okay? However, there's another aspect, and that is not getting benefit from malacha that was done for you. So I said before about the room key, right? Having them come and open the door. So that's a little bit iffy. Why? Because I'm not getting benefit from their electrical swipe. I'm getting benefit from being in my room, right? So I'm not getting benefit directly. That's more of an iffy. But turning on the light for me, right? So that I'm getting benefit from that which they've done for me. So that's going to be an issue. Turning off the light, as long as I don't tell them, if I just hint about that, that won't be an issue. Why? Because there's nothing I'm getting benefit. It's not I'm getting benefit from the light being off. I'm no longer having the light bother me. Right? Or do we hear the difference? Right? You're turning on the light. They did malacha. They turn on the light, and now the lights are on. So I'm getting benefit from that light that they turned on. They turn off the light. I'm not getting benefit from the light being off. Right? The light's no longer bothering me. But there's nothing that's giving me benefit now. It's the removal of a nuisance, as opposed to a creation of a benefit. Okay?
But if I'm trying to go to sleep and the light is on, I'm like, oh, I wish this light wasn't on, and then they turn it off because I can't turn off the light.
Correct.
I'm not benefiting from the light now not being on, and I couldn't have done it.
You're right, but you're not
benefit them. It would only affect her.
No.
There's no malacha that they did that you're now getting tangible benefit from. Maybe tangible will help. Turning on the light when I need the light, there's tangible benefit. What's the tangible benefit? The light is now on. I'm getting benefit from it. Over there, it's the removal of a nuisance, and now it's gone. Right? There's no lasting effect. They turn on the light, now the filament keeps burning, and I'm constantly getting benefit from it, as opposed to the removal of a nuisance. Now, yes, now I can go to sleep, But what am I getting benefit from? There's nothing there. There's nothing tangible I'm now getting benefit from, right? It was a removal of a nuisance. Okay.
What if you're, oh, sorry. What if you're someone who's in the process of converting and you're doing this process and someone says like, oh, hey, by the way, you know what I mean? Like,
Shabbos boy.
So the sense that I have is that people find that to be a little bit humiliating and embarrassing.
yeah.
And I don't let that.
And what would you suggest to someone who was in that situation? Because like the thing is they're also trying to like, they're also trying to get to that level. But if they're in that situation, what do you think what would be a good way to handle it?
If they're asked and they're feeling uncomfortable about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like what you were saying just before about the hanging something that's wet. It's like you're trying to learn, you're trying to do the things that like all the malachas, the way that we're being taught, so it's not confusing to us.
Yeah.
That's what I've tried to say too.
Yeah.
Like I'm just trying my best. Obviously I know we can't keep them all, like we have to break something, but like to a certain extent, like, but of course, if like, I guess for me, I'd be like, okay, like if I can help you, yes, of course I want to, right? So
if it's been extenuating circumstances, then I have gone over to someone who's early in the process when there's no one else around.
Absolutely.
Right. And say to them, it's really dark in there and we really messed up with the timing, but I would never have, I should never, but I do my best not to have someone do it in front of other people. Because I think that would be pretty
and then I think too, obviously, like when it comes to kids, I've had that too, like someone asking Logan to do something, and like for him,
how old is he?
Logan's 8. So I guess it's different, but still, like he's starting to feel even more so much a part of, especially going to Hebrew Academy. So I don't want him to I didn't want him to feel like,
So if you have a situation like that, you feel uncomfortable, just say, Rabbi Senior told me I can't do that.
Yeah.
Put it on me.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me be the right. If they call me, then I'll tell them why I think that.
I have a question about benefit of asking someone to do work on Shabbat. Is what about when it comes to vacuuming? I'm always curious because I noticed that a lot of synagogues, the people vacuum after. How is that necessarily allowed if it's the issue of the benefit?
Okay. So let's go back to washing dishes for a minute, and then we'll finish up with this. I don't want to keep you guys too late. Let's go back to washing dishes for a minute, right? So I said I can wash dishes, so they can do it in a way that's making it easier for them. Hot water, sponge, soap. How about dishwasher? Can I turn on my dishwasher? No. They're just doing it's just an easy. Well, why is that different than using the hot water and the sponge and this?
Oh, you mean the helper? Could they use the dishwasher?
Yeah.
But they're doing it for their benefit to do their job easier. Isn't that why they're using the dishwasher versus washing it? We didn't tell them to use it.
Make their job easier.
Right.
Right. So why is electricity any worse than the hot water? They're cooking. Right. So really the argument could be made that they let them do that also. But there's something, a halachic concept called afsha milta, which is it's loud and it's boisterous. Even though our dishwashers now are pretty quiet. Say, oh, no, I'm sure it's on, right? But nevertheless, something like that, which really is like non-Shabbos, right? Blaring non-Shabbos. So that we can't have them do. So you're asking. Sometimes you'll see non-Jewish workers at a shul who might be doing some vacuum cleaning. So really, no one has told them to do it, right? They know it needs to get done, and they're trying to get it done. But the truth is, I'm not sure about other shuls. I can't speak other shuls, but if I remember correctly, we don't have Jose doing it. I think years ago he did, and I spoke and I discussed it with him that it's best not to do that on Shabbos, right? So they wouldn't be doing that on Shabbos. Now, sometimes we do have someone turning on the lights over here, right? So that's a problem because again, there's two issues. There's one getting benefit from it, and the other there is, instructing them to do it. So I could hint, right? But turning the lights is getting benefit. That's an issue. So there are a couple of leniencies that work their way in over here. One of them is, well, a number of them. When it comes to lights, so if there is some light, like when the lights went off here, it was dark in here. When lights go off during the day, it's much easier with the lights, but it's not a full benefit. It's an upgraded, it's an enhancement of a benefit, as opposed to going from to 0 to 60, right? It's an enhancement of a benefit. If it's an enhancement of a benefit, then it's okay. So if there is some light already, then you could hint to them to turn on the light. You're not giving them the agency, and it's not considered getting a full benefit. Also, there are allowances in a shul if it is for davening. So then there are shitot opinions that allow it. Another place where this is allowed is when it comes to temperature control. The Shulchan Aruch says, the Code of Jewish Law says, okay, for a person who's sick, let me do it step by step. If there's someone who's sick, so then we suspend this whole rabbinic issue of not telling a Gentile to do it. You tell a Gentile to do it. There's someone sick, you need the light on, you need this on. Can you please turn on the light? Right? And they turn on the light. We're not talking about life danger. Life danger, you turn on the light. Right? We're talking about someone who's sick, but not life danger. So there we suspend all of these restrictions of amira la'akum, it's called, of telling a non-Jew to do it. That's someone who's sick. Kids are considered to be like cholim, right? If they're children, then they're the same status as having someone sick, right? You need to take care of kids. Kids need to be taken care of, right? So if it's from the needs of the kids, we suspend amira la'akum. And we say everyone is considered to be sick or like a sick person when it comes to heat. Meaning, if it's really, really cold and you need the heat to go on, this happened in Israel, when my apartment in Israel, whenever there'd be a rainstorm, thunder, lightning, electricity goes off. We just knew it happened. So we would then call one of the workers in one of the yeshivas to come go to our fuse box and to put it back up. We had little kids at home. There was heating in the house involved. Nowadays, we say, right, we live in a very, very pampered world. And it's not just heat, but it's also air conditioning, right? So now we've extended that sort of to temperature control is something that I'm dying of that, it's so hot, or I'm freezing, right? So those are areas where we suspend the restrictions of amira la'akum, of having a non-Jew do something for us. But in general, the rule is something that I can do, they can do in whatever way they want to do it, short of turning on the dishwasher. Something that I can't do, I can't have them do for me in any which way. Okay, yes, Trish.
You can do that, but.
Correct. You would not have them do that either, because that goes back into the avshamilta. It's loud, raucous, very, very non-Shabbat mood engendering. Yes, Lily.
I had a question. You mentioned about Jose that you asked him not to vacuum on Shabbos, but wouldn't he be exempt from that since he's not Jewish and that's part of his, like, his job responsibility?
Yes, but it's the wrong environment, right? So again, right? He's sort of, being that he's employed by us, he's sort of doing it for us, whatever he's doing, right? Now I could go around and scoop up anything that needs to be, right? So, but for him to do it in a loud, raucous manner with a vacuum cleaner, again, so that is kind of shattering the whole Shabbat mode that we want to have. All right? Good. Okay, good. We'll call it over here. So again, next week, again, same time. Next week, 6:20, and then you'll let me know on the WhatsApp about the week after, 5:45, or we skip that week. Okay.
And then from there on, it's 6:50, right?
Yes. Once we change the clock, yeah. And after November 4th, we have that special program. Yeah. Okay. You're very welcome. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.